have a number of scars. Some of the scars are visible to the eye, and some of the scars that I bear are invisible. I guess you can't get much through life without getting a number of scars. I have one scar that's healed very well, and this one scar has healed the other scars in my life. If you look up very close to me at the door, you'll see I've got a scar here from the top of my head to just above the eyebrow. It's from a car crash that I had when I was 19 years old, a car crash I was in. It was my first term at university, and I'd arrived at university all excited as you are, wanting to make friends and meet people and learn stuff. And as I arrived in the hall of residence, there was information from the chaplain and from the Christian Union. That went straight into the bin. And I thought, no, I'm here at university to have fun. And in the first week or so, there were rag raids. If you're British, you might know what a rag raid is. It's making magazines of jokes and then going around pubs selling them to make money for charity. So I joined the first rag raid possible, and we went off from the geography department at Nottingham University to one night to sell magazines. Just before we left, someone said to me, actually, I know the road quite well. Why don't you sit in the back and I'll sit in the front? And then I can direct the driver. The driver drove too fast. It was a wet night, and crashed into a lorry coming the other way. The two people in the front of the car were killed, and I, with two girls in the back, survived. And as I came round in hospital, concussed and having lost blood and this bash on my head, I realized I needed God. And I asked for a Bible, and they gave me a Bible, and I opened it. I didn't really know what to do with it, lots of words. But I'd already met in my first couple of weeks at university someone who had a Bible beside their bed. And I was interested that they had a Bible beside their bed. And I said, why do you have a Bible beside your bed? And he said, oh, I'm a Christian, I read it. And I said, I'm a Christian too. I'd been brought up to go to church. I didn't go to church, but I'd been brought up to go to church. And what was different? What did he have that I didn't have? And he talked about having a relationship with God, having a relationship with Jesus Christ, and how this has become the most important thing in his life in the last 12 months. And I thought to myself, I thought being a Christian is about being good, about being kind, about the outward things. It never occurred to me that it was actually about having an inward life, having your inner life set alive, come alive. When I was lying in this intensive care ward of the hospital, I realized I needed God. I needed something in my life. I was at home for a few weeks recovering, but I was desperate to get back to university to carry on the conversation with this person at university. What did they have that I needed? And slowly I began to pray. I began to ask God to be part of my life. I asked God, if God existed and was real, to make himself known to me. And slowly, very, very slowly, not overnight by any means, but very slowly my life began to change. And it was a bit like a light being lit inside my heart. Suddenly, I realized I had an inner life, an inner room that I could explore, that I could decorate, that I could live in, that I could meet God in. And God was waiting for me to meet me in that inner room. That was quite a number of years ago now. But when I look back on it, I think of it as being like a seed that was planted. And as I watered the seed, and as I tended the seed, and as I let a little sun and a little rain feed the seed. As I read the Bible and as I came to church, it grew into it's a sprouting plant, and a bigger plant, and a bigger plant, and it's still growing. It's the plant of faith, the plant of trust. And the thing that surprised me most, and nobody told me about, was the joy, a huge joy lighting up my heart. And suddenly I realized these words in the Bible, they become real when you have a relationship with God. Yes, they're written 2,000 years ago, but actually they come alive when you sense that God is speaking to you through these words. His story becomes my story. I realized that God loved me. I realized that God asked for me to put God first in my life. And God said, if you put me first in your life, then everything else will fall into place. And it has, more or less. To reverence life, to see the holy, not just to make jokes and to be cynical, but to realize that life is holy, life is a gift, and everybody in their heart is bearing the imprint of God. And so everybody you meet is holy ground. I find that when I give, I always receive back. When I'm kind, when I'm loving, when I walk the extra mile, I'm met with love in return. When it costs me something, God smiles, and somehow it's okay. The Christian life, my brothers and sisters, is a beautiful, beautiful gift that each of us is offered. It's a gift that we need to unpack, and it will be salvation for our lives and nourishment for our souls. The heart of the Christian faith, you've heard it this morning. Jesus died for us to reconcile us to God. And Jesus rose again that he might live in our hearts forever. Let's open our hearts to the mystery of God's love this Eastertide, this Holy Week. Amen.